Hello everyone internet and thanks for tuning in. I'm RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku.
And welcome to another episode of Toku Bros. I'm Dragon Zeron of the Toku Media Center.
Machine Drill Jam! So, we're going to be talking about Kira Major. This is our major update for everything from episode 10, where we left off, right up to episode 18, and everything in between. How are you feeling about this one, Zeron?
This is actually, I've been getting a lot of serial vibes from the last, 6 or 7 episodes of Kira Major. They're trying to, have a story arc. And that's something you don't really see that often in Sentai, so...
I mean, let's actually kick off by actually talking about the episode that aired before lockdown, which was episode 10. So, can you, I know you've only written about everything past episode 11, but...
I got episode 10 right here.
Have you? Fair enough. My mistake. So,
just need your help with something. So.
It's alright, I'll start by talking about episode 10. So, this was before the hiatus. And even though it wasn't the greatest episode, it was kind of a sad moment for fans around the world. Simply because, we know there's going to be a hiatus. But it did show great storytelling. And a lot of, depending on how you viewed such an episode, in terms of story, this is the episode where they found, an online singer, a YouTube sensation or something. They all became hypnotized by it. It's a bit cliche in that.
It reminds me of the Candelia or whatever from Kyoryuja.
Yeah, it's very similar to that sort of Kyoryuja vibe. So, they're still hitting these kind of cliche, done before vibes, especially in this particular episode. But I did like the kind of cheeky LGBTQ references, and even if you look at this political, this really hidden political commentary about how people are so fickle and will jump on any bandwagon for whatever's hot that moment. So this is something that I actually genuinely enjoyed. And again, they could have done better music, but I will talk about music for the whole 11 to 18 episode numbers.
We've been getting some pretty good sounding songs,
So go on, what are your thoughts on episode 10 quickly?
Episode 10, we get to see a little bit more, backstory for Shigeru, as he's trying to use the experimental to try to basically become a better swordsman, and that's actually a pretty cool thing to see him do, to move on past being the blue century, and I do hope they I'll let him explore more. Maybe he'll get new attacks and stuff, using experimental.
I kind of think despite the retro dynamic that Kira Major, in my opinion, has, the fact that they've made Shigeru Kirama Blue an actor is actually quite original. I'm pretty sure there's been no one like this, but, I could be wrong, but, with 30 years of Sentai under my belt, I will say that, I like a lot of the originality coming from Kirama Blue. So I'm going to go straight on and talk about the specials that aired. Again, I know you didn't see most of them, but I know you'll be able to pick up from episode 11. So I'll talk about the director's cut of episodes 1 and 2. I do normally for someone like me, a real sucker for that whole behind the scenes thing and deleted scenes thing. So I actually felt that the scenes that they did cut out actually would have added a lot more dynamic and, sort of Juru storytelling, even though Juru's the Red Ranger is going to be a big focus no matter what way you look at it. But I felt that those deleted scenes did add additional narrative, not just more narrative, but additional narrative to the way that we perceive Juru and the way that he joined the Kira Majors. And, this is something that, they included, simply because, this whole hiatus thing, this recording hiatus that they had. But it was better than nothing, and, I kind of really enjoyed it. And then moving on with the hiatus episodes, we then got what was known as Kirama Talk. This was where, for 2 episodes, we got to see the stones that we normally see in the mech bunker actually talk amongst themselves, which, yeah, they could have gone with so many, to be fair, like something like this, they could have gone for so many ideas, but this is like a sort of low budget thing that they did, and, they kind of had no restrictions with social distancing, etc. And, it was, and I had various opinions of the 2 episodes. So, like, part 1, they went through like a sort of clip show vibe in how they discussed the Rangers' strengths and weaknesses. And, we've seen stuff like that before, but at least with the Kirama stones, I watched this and I was like, actually, I didn't really notice too much that Senna was like someone who was like really sort of aggro in the background, and Kirama Pink was chucking people all the time. So I kind of did enjoy the insight that the script writers gave to our 5 heroes on this one. But part 2, I believe that this was a little bit pointless and frivolous in my opinion. And they could use that episode to do so much better. And like the fact is, I mean, you, Zeron, you like your music. Parts 1 and 2, they kind of did this whole, this is a music segment. So the one thing that you really missed out on, and you're going to be kicking yourself for this, is they did show a Psychic Lover track from Akira Major's background music.
Akira Major Action.
I think that was what it was called, but it was absolute, I'll be honest, I can't say I recall it from pre-episode 10, or pre-episode 11 rather. I heard it during Kirama Talk, and it's such an amazing track. I was like, oh my god, I don't remember hearing this. And then, having binged 11 to 18 the last couple of days, I've spotted it, and I'm just like, yeah, that's Psychic Lover, such an amazing track. Anyone who's not familiar with Psychic Lover, they did the OP for Deca Ranger, they did,
Shinkenger.
I believe, Go Sager, or
Shinkenger.
Shinkenger, and they did one more as well, I think. Or it might have been an ending.
Yeah, ending theme, Balkinger, the ending theme.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that was probably, in my opinion, the part 2's redemption. And the thing is, like, they kept teasing Silver in both parts, but if I'm honest, in part 2, they kind of spoiled, it was not so much of a teaser, but more of a spoiler, in my opinion, but we will talk about Kirama Silver's storyline as we go further on. So just before we talk about episode 11, there was one more special they did, which was the
Yodon.
The what?
The Yodon, the villain.
Yeah, they called it.
That's the one I actually watched.
They called it like a lab. They called it the lab, which was basically you had Carantula and Garza just talking amongst themselves. To me, it just seemed like. I mean, at first I thought it was going to be like a better origin story, but really they just digressed into a recap of episodes 7, 8, and 9, which is what we did in our last episode of Ranger Talk or Sentai Talk. This is Sentai Talk. So that was, that was something that we already did in our last episode of Sentai Talk. But they did loop it back around in a way, and it made it interesting to how it was going to lead into episode 11. But it was, in essence, a dragged out clip show. But there's like a couple of questions which I will be talking about towards the end of after we've finished talking about 11 to 18. So episode 11. There's a lot going on in this episode, but also not so much going on. I mean, it's fun to remember that Sentai for the last couple of years or so has always taken the same old cliche and then put a spin on it with various results. And then, whether that's good or bad, it just depends. But admittedly, episode 11 was one of the good ones, where it was predictable, but I believe that, with the storyline based around Kirama Yellow, and, so they did the whole cliche, this is a cliche, deja vu, Groundhog Day style episode. It kind of taught this good lesson about giving 100% all the time, which is the ridiculously good spin that this episode has put on such an old cliche. And I'll let you cut in.
Also, so when I was watching them fight the villain, I kept on getting flashbacks to Doctor Strange, which, if you didn't know, the first movie Dr. Strange kept on coming back to basically beat the villain many times, and he's like, I won't stop until you die, basically. And like,
I
basically,
guess that's
just,
kind of what Kirame Yellow did. I mean, I've seen that movie, but it was so long ago. But at least, kind of, for me personally, as a big Sentai fan, I really felt for Kirame Yellow, and I just loved that perseverance that he showed. And there were like again, there's some good comedy moments, like at the end of the whole, when he did just give up the reset button. The way that I think they call them marksmen. The way that the guy walked away and was like, "All right, I quit the Odon now."
he's like, fuck this, I'm out. See ya, guys. I give up.
Again, that's such a classic comedy moment. But the one thing I'll say is, like, I mean, again, where you didn't watch the specials and they kept teasing Kirama Silva, we knew,
We do see him
from the way that the previous villain sort of recap was going, that there was going to be no involvement of Kirama Silva. But then, right at the end of episode 11, they really teased. They were like, "This is going to be how this guy is going to enter the fold," which was amazing. And just to quickly wrap up at episode 11, the one thing I am liking about Kira Major is these Easter eggs that they keep dropping in. Like when they were going through the Deja Vu Groundhog Day style scenes, you actually do hear Kirame Yellow quote K-Bomb from
Soldier.
So I thought that was quite a cool Easter egg. If no one spotted that, there you go. I've just dropped an Easter egg on you. So, do you want to give us a summary of what episode 12 was about?
Yeah, basically, Sayo, the Pink Ranger, she gets stuck up in the mountains and stuff. I think she was just up there to do a hike or something. And basically, while she's up there, she trips and falls. And Takamichi, our Silver Ranger, finds her, and he's like, "Oh, I wonder if you're gonna be do you need my help or something?" And she's like, "If so, you have to do this Kira thing, or which we'll talk near the end about it, what happened." But basically, we see his new arsenal and stuff, which is a drill, and I love this drill. It looks so awesome and stuff. I love how they got a new.
So you like his weapon?
Yeah, it's very cool. And then I also like the compass thing for a changer. We haven't had a compass based off of a compass morpher in quite a while. So I'm like, ooh, that's pretty interesting to see them try to incorporate his treasure hunting skills. And I'm like, oh man. And then basically, we also learn about the Moonstone, which is basically it's a monster based off of rocks and stuff. And we have as time goes on, we see a lot more of these Moonstones and stuff.
So, a lot of the points you made, I did find this a very enjoyable episode and a good intro to Silver. I mean, I did find it a touch tiresome that, that once again we have a very quirky and bizarre character for a Sixth Ranger. And who also hits on the hot Pink Ranger, why not,
She reminds me of Canelo.
Yeah, straight up. I mean, I've got quite a few notes on the comparisons of the two. But I'll say that, I think Spectre would have something to say about Kirama Silva on Pink, right? But I'll still say, again, we've got a really ridiculously overpowerful Sixth Ranger. I mean, I did like the long rollout to him being Mabushina's sister, but at this point in the storyline, we kind of think that doesn't make sense, which they do explain at the beginning of episode 13. I mean, there's no doubt that even from where we are at episode 18, the story is going to go deeper. And the story about how Crystalia fell. I mean, there were a couple of plot holes and unrealistic physics with Meteor Man going on. But the one thing I'm thinking about the Monsters of the Week is that even though I'm loving their retro look and very sort of everything neck down is generic, but they've got a bizarre head. Finding that in Kira Major, these Monsters of the Week are getting defeated way too easily, but that's just an opinion of
But like basically, episode 12 it gives us an introduction to Takamichi, and we think he's gonna be this very romantic kind of guy and stuff.
Agreed.
And like, but yeah, let's talk about episode 13 now.
Well, I mean, all right, I'll bring in episode 13, but I will 100% agree that, yeah, I'm liking this kind of very romantic. Yeah, I mean, even though, again, we did see it from Kanalo in Ryu Soldier, but I am liking very kind of romantic personality, even if, again, it's cliche, it's been done before. And again, we actually get to see a very good example of this at the beginning of episode 13, where, yeah, you've got, like, the monster of the week is, like, a plant monster, if I remember correctly. And, you know, he comes in, even though he's on his treasure hunt, he comes in, he saves this couple, and he's like, oh, I wish you guys well, which is a very romantic rhetoric, and quite, it's kind of a good lesson to teach the viewers. So with episode 13, we do get an introduction to Drill-Jan. We can see how, again, it's more of the cliche of the Sixth Ranger's personality. But I found it very amusing that he like we say, you mug someone off. Like, he mugs everyone off. He takes Pink Ranger again and he goes flying off into the mountains.
Yeah, he's done that quite a bit. And
you know, like, it's a good romantic part of his personality. And I'll still say, there are a few questions into his origin story. And again, we kind of get the whole brother-sister thing explained to us. And
he's adopted.
And the connection with Picotaro's character is, again, it was just a comedy moment. The guy does have this comedy timing, which, again, I think the world knows him as that, but he's just so underrated. He's just so underrated. He deserves a lot more than what he's getting.
I do hope he becomes the Ranger. That would be really cool. Like,
see, I mean, I was probably going to save this for another episode, but I do have this suspicion that Mabushina could be a potential Kirima White, or it could be Picotaro. Could be anyone else, really. But I'll still say that, we got to see this underground... So this is the plant episode. We got to see this great underground scene with the mecha fighting. I mean, the mechas do look amazing. I mean, we didn't... Because we talked about King Express last time, didn't get really talk about King Express today, but just kind of like a general note, I am loving the look of the mechas, and we'll talk about Drill-Jan's evolution into a Guardian later on. Yeah, I'll still say that, like, they've got to really give some more sort of time for the monsters of the week. And with this whole thing with the moonstones and the treasure hunting, and especially that big Drill-Jan, I was getting some really strong Bokender vibes from all this. So moving on to episode 14, I'll let you introduce this one.
Okay, so basically, episode 14, we see Takamichi looking for a new jewel and stuff, because he needs to get another stone to try to activate his mecha and stuff. And we also see that he's also selfish, and that, like, he does have his asshole moments, but he does care, or he doesn't really care about other people in this, you know what I mean? I feel like he kind of has an ego, per se. I don't know how to describe it,
I wouldn't call it an ego. Like, I mean, especially when we talk about the later episodes, we get to see his motivation. But I think, again, with the cliche thing, like, when you see the whole Mabushina being so heartbroken over her brother, we do, like, I think for me, I was like, nah, there's definitely, I mean, again, like, I've already said that, I'm looking forward to seeing, like, the story get deeper. I'm looking forward to seeing more of his origin. And I like the way that they are feeding us Silver's origin story to us droplet by droplet, but I think for me, like, again, it's the cliche, but I will say from the off that, I've been like, alright, Mabushina's really fallen out with him because he wasn't there when Crystalia fell. I will still say that, I gave him the benefit of the doubt from the off. I'm like, nah, this guy is, again, with such a romantic personality, I was like, nah, there's definitely going to be more to this character, and it's not just he's a two-dimensional arsehole, as you put it, but I think he will, like, I kind of knew there was more to him than that. So, like, again, it is a bit of a bizarre. So, like, my opinion, it is a bit of a bizarre filler episode. With the cliche loner sick member finally accepting the team, and the team are like, "Oh, we love you." But this mecha that even though it felt like a filler, they did actually introduce the Dust On mecha, which is a bit crazy in my opinion. Because what still trying.
But it's a very unique, like Zord. We haven't never done that before, and I really do enjoy that. Like they finally got like something interesting.
I mean, I'll say that it does feel like, on one hand, I like the original idea, but on the same time, it also feels like they're running out of ideas. But again, it just depends on what sort of positive, negative spin you can put on something like that. I mean, like something like King Express, like that is quite an original idea, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. But then we get this, vacuum cleaner as a mecha, which is, it kind of goes with what's going on. But the one thing, like, about this episode, like, just to wrap it up, I mean, we didn't really talk about the side story that, like, we've got Kirama Silver doing the loner thing, and he's in an onsen spa in Japan. And you got, like, the old lady, like, "Oh, nice to have you here." And then suddenly her onsen gets completely obliterated by...
I would have sworn I've seen this episode before. Like, I think it was in Tokujo they did an episode similar to this.
Well, to be fair, Toku... I mean, bearing in mind the Monster of the Week was a train, and we do... the fact that Tokujo was a train-themed Sentai. So, I can probably get the Tokujo vibes, even though it's probably not something that I'd have picked up on. But Monster of the Week here, I mean, he was crazy, he was funny, but...
I like the pyrotechnics they put in his head, though.
But again, it's what I said about the Meteor Man. It's literally everything from the foot, neck down. It looks like the foot soldiers, but they just changed their head, which it's clever from a budgeting perspective. But it's a very long. It's kind of like a long way away from Kamen Rider doing these really extravagant monsters of the week, let alone the generals, etc.
Well, Kamen Rider's been reusing suits for the last, 12 years. Or, 10 years.
Probably. So. I could see that. Not that I know anything about that, which probably shows my ignorance a little bit, but still. But again, like, the plot, just to kind of, before we just go on to episode 15, but, like, again, the fact that, like, as soon as the onsen was obliterated, we don't see the old woman again. And I'm just like, surely someone would have had some sort of guilt. I mean, it's just, it's just as when fans say, "Oh, when big monsters obliterate the buildings, you don't really see the cleanup effort." So it kind of goes along that lines. But in my opinion, it was so much more, because, again, this is some old lady's onsen. This is, Ona-san's onsen, and they just kind of like, alright, it got destroyed, just clean it up with a vacuum cleaner. No, but like, I'm just trying to think, because that was, I mean, it was like a the little mecha was like a crunching garbage truck, but then when it becomes a big mecha, it's a hoover. Go figure. So, episode 15. This episode felt less cliche to me, in my opinion, as, we got, like, the typical cliche where, I mean, this is the episode where they play green light, red light, and, like, it's kind of cool that, the typical cliche episode is you see one or two rangers be isolated out and they have to figure out the problem to solve it and win the day. Whereas I like the fact that this episode kind of gives the victory to Mabushina. And I thought that was, again, I felt that was a good original spin. And and even though we do have like Blue and Silver kind of on the sides here. And you've got some comedy moments with Silver looking for his treasure again. But I'll say that, Karantula and the enlarged Gaijin didn't really have too much of a strong connection here. So, like, I mean, like, you had Crunchula playing Green Light, Red Light, and you had then you had the giant mecha with the hoop thing. So even as a weapon, so again, like with Dust On being an original weapon, it just felt like they were running out of ideas, in my opinion. I mean, I like the retro vibe of Child's Play because, we had that thing in episode 9 where they were playing the Japanese card game. I think it was called Karita. But, like, I kind of like the fact that they've gone back to this kind of, like, children's game kind of thing. But it just seems like that an episode like this could focus on... I like the fact that this episode focused more on character bonding, even if there is less action, which does kind of throw me off a little bit.
I do wish we will get a little bit more development of Karachula, like who he is exactly, you know what I mean?
I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think that will happen. That's just an opinion.
Unless they explain that he's actually a human trapped in a Yodoheim body, you know?
I mean, he's got two faces on him. Like above his lower face, he's got two faces on the side of his head. So would be interesting because if you notice, and again, you're the one bringing this point up, but if you notice, one of the face, and again, you can really see it in the green light, red light episode. One of those faces is actually cracked. Well, actually, am I thinking of the reset button guy? I'm pretty sure it is Crunchula. One of his faces are cracked. Got to check. So moving on to episode 16. I mean, normally I don't like it when Toku gets a bit too J-drama-y. So, like, we did this whole high school origin story for Kirama Silver. And, like this whole, I don't really like this girl anyway kind of thing. So it gets a bit J-drama, in my opinion. But I think for this particular episode, and again, maybe because it's post-corona, post down for Japan, I kind of cut them a little bit of slack, but I kind of liked how it kind of did like a little bit of romantic development, and we do see a bit of why Kirama Silver ticks in a certain way. But I'll say it kind of felt like they shoehorn, like they say, he was going to apologise to the girl at high school, but then the following day he gets possessed by a monstone, which felt a little bit shoehorned in my opinion. And then, we get to see this whole kind of effort of, like, the mecha coming and chipping in and helping this guy out. And, like, buildings start exploding because you've got the Marshmallow Monster of the Week. And, another Easter egg from Legendary Sentai, you do hear Helico saying bata bata, like, Gawanja. So, I thought that was quite a cool Easter egg that they included. But admittedly, at least with Kira Major, its nods to previous Sentai are definitely a lot more subtle than what went on in Lupin Ranger versus Pata Ranger.
Where they basically reuse props and stuff.
Yeah, so it's a lot more subtle, and you've really got to look out for those Easter eggs. I'm sure I've missed a ton myself, despite being like a fan of over 30 years. Second time I mentioned that in this episode. The Monster of the Week, it was a bit cliche that, I'm attacking where this concert's going on. You've got like this marshmallow guy who's just like collecting marshmallows to feed to Crunchula, which was cleverly hinted at in episode 15, right at the end of episode 15. And then you see him like, I'm collecting marshmallows. That's a very Hurricane vibe in my opinion. Like, very sort of puerile reason to be attacking society at large. But when it came to the Marshmallow Monster of the Week, again, you've got that generic, its head's a marshmallow, the rest the same, but he had a dad bod. It's like, what is going on with this guy?
Yeah, I remember that, they said that was like the first time they actually had that, so maybe it's because marshmallows should make people fat.
No, it makes sense. Definitely makes sense in my opinion. But but again, the way that Senna comes out helping Kirama Silver, I was getting, like her general attitude kind of gives me the Akko-chan from Jetman vibe. I don't know if you've seen Jetman.
Oh yeah, I've seen Jetman.
But apart from the fact that she's this student athlete and whatnot, again, it just kind of feels like they've lifted up Akko-chan and put it into Kirama Green. So go on, what are your thoughts on episode 16?
I enjoyed it. It was a very interesting way to see Takamichi go past his pre-Moonstone, pre-Kira, cause I do think we needed to see a little bit of that just so that we know what he was like. Cause it did seem that like he didn't get a chance to be like finish out his human years. You know what I mean? And I think he was wanting to complete his so-called pre-QMA days. You know what I mean?
I think that was exactly the point that Kira Green was making, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
So, episode 17, moving on. This is a great key episode with, in my opinion, a lot of Magic Ranger style vibes and twists. And so, like, we get to see Kirama Silver become the Silver Stone that he has inside of him. We get the debut of Gigant Driller, and it's a real clue to the deeper story that's going on here. But the preview that they gave for episode 18 was just totally on another level. I mean, the week's story didn't make a lot of sense, but I did like the team rhetoric that's continuing on from what they did like a few episodes prior. I mean, we do get in my opinion, there are some plot holes, like why didn't Kirama Silver turn into a card, that kind of thing. So, as much as I might give credit to the writers writing in COVID situation, like, how come everyone else got turned into a card and he didn't?
Maybe it's because he's actually like a human, and like him turning into a crystal is not the normal thing for Kirama to do.
No. Because again, this is the episode with the whack-a-mole. And, it's like all these other contenders that contended for, like, the sparkly treasure, the cliche treasure, turned into cards. But then Kirama Silver went in, but then we see at the beginning of the episode, he returns to the Carrot base, and he's like, oh, I've just had 10 bells at me, but why was he able to return to the base? Why did he not get turned into a card? It doesn't make sense, but it is what it is at the end of the day.
I do think, I do hope they go into, like, what will happen eventually near the end, because it does seem that he might become human, you know what I mean?
He might become, he is human.
I know, but I think the Crystallia part of him will be removed very soon, I think.
Well, I mean, obviously there's the big happenings of episode 18, but just to kind of put a bit more emphasis on episode 17, again, we do get the debut of Gigant Driller. I personally rate it. I mean, it's kind of like, it kind of has that very typical kind of, it's ground-based and then it kind of becomes upright. We don't see...
I like it.
Much. We don't see that too much in today's, modern Sentai, so...
it would have been cool if they had it spinning around and stuff,
I mean, the thing is, like, when it comes to spinning around, there's the additional gatai that happens in episode 18, but I think, in my opinion, we do get too much spinning around already. That's just my opinion. Alright, so going on to the big one, episode 18. I mean, this was like during my hiatus, redoing my room, and just the sort of COVID hiatus that we had. We did get a lot of hints that Kirama Silver would turn evil. Like, I saw the screenshots. But
can we talk a little bit about those screenshots and stuff and what's happening?
We can, I mean, we're talking about episode 18, so that's fair enough. But we'll say, like, the one, and again, a little bit of a spoiler is that even though they spent months, the whole hiatus building up to, and Kirama Silver also turns evil, it's literally over in one episode. I mean, on one hand, you could say, well, they didn't drag it out, and, there's obviously a potential for this character to return. But, again, we see the Monstone removed from him, and, again, it's over in one episode, which I felt, could have been a really good two-story arc, but I'll give it credit to the fact that, again, we have had a hiatus, and the Kirama is going to have much lesser episodes than most Sentai because of it. I do
think it will actually help out the show, though, so that it could get more story,
Potentially, I do see that. I mean, I'll still say that, at least this episode, in my opinion, had more of the Heisei vibe than, like, the retro Showa vibes that they seem to be going for. I mean, it was really good storytelling, but I felt that they could have expanded more on that Brulis story that they kept referring to. And
yeah, Blueless gives the main the witch that basically gave Mabushina the curse.
yeah, that's that is the story. But but we didn't really get too much. Like it'd be good to see future episodes expand on the Queen of Crystallia, Mabushina's mother. But I'll still say that again they could have really done with maybe the combination mecha that I referred to. So we do get to see the debut of this combination mecha, which I can't remember the name, but it was like, you've got your Gigan drill, Gigan drill, I think it's called, as the main part. You've got the Hoover, you've got Yellow, you've got Chevello. So Chevello, Dust On, and the Cement Mixer one, which I think debuted in the previous episode. So again, and you get to see its Hisatsu attacks just spinning around, which I thought was very unoriginal. So underwhelmed by it, in my opinion.
I do hope to see a spaceship or something in a future episode.
I mean, we had a spaceship in Ninja, didn't we?
And in Q Ranger and.
Well, Q Ranger's a space-themed Sentai. That's you kind of let that one off, but. No, Ninja had a spaceship in it, and I don't know, I think it just depends on the context of the story. To be fair, when it comes to the mech battles, again, they've done some real original, some real original scenery. So we've seen the mecha fight at night, we've seen the mecha fight underground. I mean,
and we see them fight in the city, and
Well, I mean, the city's a given. Most Sentai has them fighting.
No, but I mean, superimposed on the city though. They're getting background shots and stuff.
No, but again, for me personally, again, the two that I mentioned, fighting at night. So the mecha fight in the dark and underground. Those have been, in my opinion, the more artistic.
I do think we'll be getting a lot more CGI fights soon, as a way to,
Probably because of the whole COVID thing, but, again, it'll be interesting to see how, because to be fair, we've got the preview for episode 19, which feels a little bit of a filler, but what are you going to do?
But yeah, but we were saying about the scans earlier, basically, the scans might not be coming to us that often anymore because Television and Television Magazine basically came out and be like, we'll legally take down the any scans of our magazines and stuff for Japanese copyright reasons. So therefore, we won't really get to know anything unless we watch the previews and stuff. Unless somebody's able to buy the magazines in US or the UK, because I used to be able to buy magazines Television Magazine, look here from Toku Bros and stuff,
They have to bring that out, yeah. Alright, well, that's a wrap for the massive
Kira Major
wrap up to episode 18, so thank you all for watching. I mean, you can catch us all on social media as per. We've got my boy Dragon Zeron, who's on Patreon, Instagram, and his own YouTube channel. We've got us at Toku Bros, where we are on Facebook,
Twitter,
this YouTube account, and Twitter at Toku Bros 71. And of course, myself, RyuKiva Toku, where I am on everything. I am on Facebook, I am on Twitter, I have my own YouTube channel, which I have resumed the Toku unboxing. And in September, I'll be doing my Tokusatsu rundown. My Instagram, it's kind of on it at the moment. My WordPress is still lagging behind, so is my Patreon, to be fair. My WordPress is ryukivatoku.wordpress.com, but I do need to up my game a little bit. But this winter, I'm doing a lot of fan subbing. I'm doing more again, I'll be charting all my Tokusatsu favourites. So please stay tuned for that. And yeah, I am rating everything that we're doing this winter. I can't wait to be looking at Kamen Rider Saber. We're going to be reviewing not Kamen Rider Ultraman. We're going to be reviewing Ultraman Zeto next week. So, fist through the cam.
Yeah.
See you all next time.
Yeah.